If you would first introduce yourself.
My name is Renda Writer. I'm an artist, a handwritten artist.
Hell yeah. I like it.
That's me.
Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me right here during this podcast. You can find me in Miami in the Wynwood Art District. But online, you can find me at rendawriter.com. That's my website, my official website. And then I'm Renda Writer on pretty much everything. Instagram, Facebook, all
stuff.
that. Yeah. I have a TikTok, but I haven't used it in a while. But I'm on Instagram probably the most.
Oh, yeah.
But I use every platform. I'm very easy to find. If you Google me, you'll find me. And I'm very responsive too. You know, I put myself out there so people could reach me, and then I respond to what they say, you know.
Well, let's kick this off. So where are you from originally?
Originally New York. I was born in Long Island, New York. Lived there till I was 10, moved to Florida, and I've spent most of my life in either Florida or New York. But I did have a period of like 10 years where I was living in a van. Mm-hmm. So in the van, I just lived everywhere. Well, a lot of New York and Florida, but other places too.
Let's start with New York. So being a visual artist, how did New York, being from there originally, inspire that? Like, not to say it's the inspiration, but
yeah, it's not the inspiration, and you got to look at my whole life to figure out how it ties in. But growing up in New York, being born in New York in 1978, the year hip hop was born, arguably, and being in the birthplace of hip hop, rap music was just huge in my life from age like 7.
Sure.
So around 7, 8, when I started to like listen to music, I got Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim, Hot, Cool, and Vicious by Salt and Pepper, Crushin' by the Fat Boys. You know, these were the cassettes that I was buying at like 8, 9 years old. Uh-huh. And so really hip hop was the first form of art that influenced me. Yeah. You know, I didn't become a visual artist or develop any visual artist inclinations until way later. Yeah. But as a kid, it was hip hop that infiltrated me as the first type of art that I could like, appreciate, and relate to. And so then years later, it makes sense that all my art is words, because it's words that got me into something. So I kind of usually lay it out like hip hop got me into poetry. Yeah. Poetry was the first art that I practiced myself, you know, and I was a poet. And then being a poet and being in certain atmospheres, all these open mic nights and poetry events, and being in Wynwood and being in the artsier areas of New York and Broward and other parts of Florida, that's what got me into visual art, you know? So it was like hip hop and words got me into poetry. That was all love of words. And then I started to get into visual art, started to see that some artists do words. And then I started to see all these artists that just like do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, cause before that I thought you had to like go to school, be an artist. There was like some rules. And then I realized, no, like being an artist truly is the most free thing ever.
That's what it literally is.
Yeah, you just call yourself an artist and then you describe what your art is like. And then there you go, you're an artist. So that's kind of how I became an artist. But it definitely goes back to hip hop, and being born in New York at that time was definitely a part of it.
I'm curious on that thread, because it's not often I get to sit with people that were there at the beginning of hip hop, right? Yeah. And so I'd imagine, like you said, the words influence a lot of your art, but I'd also imagine like seeing the first trains that I didn't get to see that, right? Like I've only seen books, or I've seen what those trains inspired, right? But being there at that epicenter, what was that like?
I mean, it's all good. It's all made me who I am, you know? Yeah. I don't really have too much recollection of like graffiti covered trains in my youth. But later in life, yes. Like I moved out of New York when I was 10, and I was in Long Island, not the city. But, you know, I got into some graffiti here in Florida. You know, I ran my own magazine that was all about local art and music in Miami. And my 2 partners in the magazine were former graffiti artists, and they were like heavily involved in graffiti and well-informed and all that. So they kind of introduced me to graffiti first in Florida. And that was like, I want to say 2007 or so. Okay. And I got into it. I got into it as like a fan. I'm not a graffiti artist myself, and I never was. But I was always, I just like art, you know, all types of art, whether I practice it or not. But so I got into graffiti around that time, 2007, 8, and I published this magazine, and the back page was always filled with graffiti. And so my 2 partners kind of hipped me to what was up. with graffiti, but it was also natural that I would flock to graffiti because I was raised on hip hop, and that's another extension of the culture. So I was already familiar with like MCing and DJing and breakdancing. So graffiti worked its way into my life too. And now I myself, I'm like graffiti adjacent, you know?
Yeah.
So
as you were evolving as an artist in Long Island, first New York, then Long Island, and then down into Florida, like how did that intersection begin? Like where and what led you life path wise to devote yourself to the creative world?
I mean, lots of things, lots of just life things, you know. To be honest, I guess it was some of the more like unfortunate times, or like the hard times, the breakup scenarios. All that stuff is really what pushed me more to do more creative stuff. You know, like I needed an outlet. You know. Yeah. I needed a way to express myself, and I still do. And sometimes this ain't even enough. You know what I mean? Sometimes all this art, I'm like, now that I've been doing it so long, sometimes I question if the art still plays the same role in my life and my mental health management that it once did. You know what I mean? I guess that's another whole subject. But yeah, my whole introduction into art and becoming an artist was a gradual thing. And like I said, I came through hip hop. That was like my entry into that. You know, a lot of times people will say like, when did you decide to become an artist? Or when did you become an artist? And it's kind of hard to answer it like that because it's not a specific moment. It's not a specific thing. It's just my life taking me in that direction.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that I can point to that were pretty influential or monumental. Like I've actually told this many times in interviews, so I could say it again, but I remember in like 2013, I think it was 2013 or maybe late 2012, but I was living in my car, and so I would go to FedEx office often because it was open 24 hours, and there was one on Miami Beach. So I would go there a lot to like take a nap or use the bathroom and brush my teeth, and like I kind of like lived there.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was there and I was online reading an article from the Village Voice in New York where they did an interview with Banksy. And you know, Banksy doesn't really give interviews ever, and he never even revealed himself until very recently.
Whatever happened.
But so back in 2012, 2013, he did this interview with the Village Voice because he had done this 1-month residency in New York where he did a piece of art every day somewhere in New York. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
but
I do.
So in the interview, he said, if you want to be successful as an artist, it's not that hard. All you need to do is devote your entire life to it. And I just like that hit me on so many levels because I'm like, this is Banksy who doesn't really talk and nobody knows who he is. But here he is talking and giving you a quote, a piece of his mind and his wisdom and the way he thinks.
His intellectual property.
Yeah. So that like hit me like, holy shit, Banksy talks. This is what he said. And then when he says, if you want to be successful as an artist, I'm like, oh, you got me there because this is 2012, 2013. I'm just getting my feet wet in art. I'm not a professional artist. I'm working at sandwich shops and doing carpet installation and window cleaning and random shit. So I'm like, I see that if you want to be successful as an artist, I'm like, okay, yeah. And he's like, it's not that hard. I'm like, okay. All you have to do is devote your entire life to it, you know, that's kind of like the ironic part of it. He's saying it's not that hard. All you need to do is devote your entire life.
Essence has to be that.
But that is the hard part. To devote your entire life to anything can be hard. I mean, it can also be not hard because whatever, if you're following your passion, that's naturally what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just thought that was an interesting quote. And at the time, I was in a post-breakup energy, and I was kind of down, but I was looking at it as a good thing. I was like, I'm at rock bottom, and so the only place to go is up, you know? And that quote just kind of hit me because I'm like, okay, I don't have kids. I don't have pets. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I don't have a house. I don't have anything. So
nothing's tying you down.
Yeah, so if he's saying devote your entire life, that's what I'm just going to devote my entire life to art, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, you know? And I was in like 2013, so that was like 12, 13 years ago. Now, what's interesting is now, 13 years later, I look at that same quote and I look at all the times that I repeated that quote to people, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I guess I'm proud of my story. That is a good example of how one person was inspired by another artist and did something with their life. But I'm like, you know, the other side of it is I kind of fucked up. Like I devoted so much of my life to art that I feel like I'm socially awkward. I don't know how to interact with people.
Yeah.
I still don't have kids. I don't have a girlfriend again. I'm starting to feel like the negative side of this. I'm starting to feel like, did I fuck up? Like, yeah, I made a lot of really cool art and traveled and made a lot of money and did really cool things. But now I'm 47 and I'm starting to feel like lonely and like, what do I got? A room full of art? All right, cool. You know, a lot of Instagram followers. What does that even mean? You know? Yeah. So yeah, not to get too deep, but I'm just saying that's kind of the evolution of it, you know, and this is like the interview where I add on to everything I've said in all these other interviews. So, but that was part of my decision to go further into art. Just plain reading that article, reading that quote. But there was just a lot of things, you know, and it just, most importantly, I just followed the natural path, you know? And it's fun too. Like, I just like the process. I like spray painting a canvas, you know? I like letting it dry, you know, and like seeing if it's dry. Okay, maybe I'll do something with it tomorrow. No, maybe the next day I'll let it dry more, you know? And then getting a fresh marker and opening the marker up and like priming it. And, you know, just the whole process, thinking of what I'm gonna write on it. And then doing that first letter, that first stroke, whatever it is. So I do still really enjoy the process. It's just a cathartic hobby, you know, it's something to do with your time. It's my hobby as well as my career, you know? So I'm still in love with art. But yeah, I've come a long way and I've realized a lot about myself through the art and just through life.
I think that it's important to always ask these questions anyway. Like that question of, did I fuck up or am I in the right place? What am I doing? Like your journey as a human, living creatively, which is how one is supposed to live, is a constant progression, right? And so you should always be asking those questions, those deep, hard questions, and seeing where they take you. Yeah. Right? You're going to find yourself in moments where it's not making sense. And so then it's like, okay, it's time to pivot. And that pivot might be drastic. It might not, right? Yeah. But if you stop asking those questions, you lose track of your own personal identity. And if you lose track of your identity, who are you, right? Yeah, yeah. And so that's good. It's good that you're still asking that, right? No, you're right. 13 years later, whatever it was.
That's very true. Yeah, you got to stay conscientious. You got to like stay on top of yourself, double check, you know, do like a check-in, you know, and see where you're at. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And I'm, you know, largely happy with how far I've come. But, you know, with it, sometimes like some unanswerable questions. Yeah, you know?
I look at a lot of it like climbing stuff, right? At one point, I was doing certain things, you know, working in industries and then rapping, and I climbed that hill as high as I wanted to go as a rapper. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really just wanted to travel for free. So even though I love hip hop, I love touring, I love the art, I think I did enough of that, and I want to move on to the next thing. And then that led me to running nightclubs, and you know, I got to the point where I was running the biggest clubs in the city, and you know, I helped them sell a couple of these clubs. And I was at the top, right? I'm getting offers, $250,000 for this or go do that. And I'm hanging out with fucking Tiesto and all these other people. And it wasn't fulfilling anymore. So then I had to make another decision, right? And I walked away from a career where I walked away from my most financially successful year, made a conscious decision, kind of lost it all, right? And that rock bottom that you're talking about helped remind me that I love being creative and to reapply, find a new hill to climb. Yeah. And that's life, right? Like you always got to be climbing. You always got to be looking and turning over curiosities, you know? Like I thought I wanted to be a millionaire. I turned that rock over. I was like, no, that's not it. Well, where's the next rock? What's the next rock? Where, you know? And so that's kind of my journey with it is like always pushing, always creating, and always evaluating.
Yeah. Always checking, you know, it's like a system of checks and balances. You got to like ask yourself where you've been, where you're going, you know, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like I'm ready for some kind of a pivot. Like it was the pivot that pivoted me into art, you know, like I was talking about that time in my life, 2012 and 13. And when I read that Banksy article and stuff, I was dabbling in art, but artistic wise, I was still heavily into poetry. So I was writing poetry, memorizing it, performing it. That was my thing, you know, but as the poetry started to get stale, you know, or let's just say, or less inspiring, and all the other things I was doing. I was running a magazine. So it was like the magazine I was running wasn't doing it for me anymore. The poetry, pretty much all the artistic stuff I was doing was just running its course. And then I got out of this relationship too. And then that just gave me like a hard pivot. And that's when I like just jumped in a little further on the art, you know? And so I feel like there might be some kind of pivot again in my near future, but I don't think I'll ever pivot out of art. I'll just pivot within it, you know, do different little things, whatever, a new phrase, a new style or whatever. But as far as making art, doing murals and doing canvases, I'm pretty sure I'll do that till I die, you know?
Being a creative and expressive person, like there's certain things that just have to be done. Like you have to, otherwise that bottle starts filling, the pressure starts filling, and you're like, you got to go do what you got to do, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
What so you did poetry for a while, and clearly a lot of your art is word inspired. You mentioned hip hop being a pivotal thing for you.
Yeah.
For some up and coming poets, like what would you tell them? Where would you steer them? I know it's kind of a blast from your past, but like,
I don't know, man.
Like if there's a poetry book that someone should read, what is it?
I don't know. Well,
or a clip or a poet.
Yeah, no, I guess I could think of a few, but I guess first thing I would say is that when it comes to like these kind of questions of like advice for a poet or an artist or whatever, like I could give an answer, but also I would say my answer is like, I don't fucking know. Like you gotta just follow your own path, to be real. I can still give you an answer, but I'm just saying that a lot of times like advice questions, I really do just boil it down to, I don't fucking know. Like you gotta follow your own path. You can't ask someone for advice.
That's the advice I want. Like I'm curious, like I'm just curious.
I kind of feel that way. I feel like if you're a poet and you want some advice on how to proceed as a poet, or you're an artist and you want advice, I could give you some specific things. I could tell you some certain things and whatever. But in general, you just gotta like follow your heart, all that general stuff. You gotta follow your heart. But now as far as some specifics, like Def Poetry Jam. I don't know what the poets of today are like. I don't know what they're writing. I don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So I only know my like old references, but Def Poetry Jam was huge for me. I mean, I can't remember the first time I saw it, but it blew my mind. And then I got every DVD, like every season on DVD. And I never bought DVDs, period. I'm not into like owning a lot of stuff. And I was like, I'm not a person with a DVD collection, but when Def Poetry started coming out on DVD, I'm like, that I need to own. So my collection was just 3 seasons of Def Poetry Jam. You know what I mean? That was the only DVDs I owned. So I would definitely recommend anyone that, I don't know if there are people current day that are writing like spoken word style stuff, but if there are, and you want to do the history, you want to learn about where all this came from, go back to the 90s, go back to the early 2000s, watch Def Poetry Jam, watch the movie Slam with Saul Williams.
Yeah, that was a dope movie.
Go back further, go to the beat poets, go to Allen Ginsberg, study poetry on the whole. I mean,
Jack Kerouac.
Yeah, Kerouac, all them. So it's kind of like just the general advice, just study your craft, whatever it is, study your craft, commit to it. Do kind of like Banksy said, devote your entire life to it, or whatever you can.
Well, that's a reoccurring theme, right? Like what Banksy said is reoccurring on every level of and not even just creative, just living. Like however you're gonna live, like devote your entirety to that motion. If you're being a father, if you're a husband, if you're a philanthropist, whatever, the way that you're gonna see the best results is through devotion.
Yeah. And not even just devotion, but maybe even obsession or something. You know what I mean? Like I've been marinating on that concept for a while, and I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of interviews myself. I like giving interviews, watching interviews, all that. I like just talking,
exploring.
And like soaking up knowledge and stuff. But I feel like there's a lot of people that I've been paying attention to recently that talk about like the power of just obsession. Like literally just be obsessed. Not like work hard, not like do this and also balance. There are a lot of people that just say, fuck balance altogether. Just whatever it is, go in obsessively, And that approach might not be good for everybody, but it does work for a certain few,
Well, it depends on the outcome. What do you want? What are you doing it for? If your outcome is just to like kind of do it leisurely, do it leisurely.
You do it. But if you want a giant outcome, you got to put in some giant input. You get out what you put in, and that's true of everything. So,
and that comes from your heart, right? Your heart tells you like, okay, like I care about this more than other things. I should maybe devote myself in a way that's a little more extreme. There's a lot of like ancient seekers and people that are following those things. And one of the phrases that always sticks out is whatever you're approaching, you need to approach it like your head's on fire, and that's the water.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is. If you're trying to be a insert thing and you want to be that, then you need to approach it as though your head's on fire and the only way to survive is that thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, if you're talking about like pursuing a passion or like being wildly successful at something, there's really no room for like moderation or balance. You got to go all in.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think. Maybe some people have a completely different view or whatever, but you know, these are my thoughts, my little pieces of advice.
Well, and
or whatever,
those people aren't wrong, but
Yeah.
those people are doing it for other reasons, and they're going to receive a different outcome.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's totally fine, right?
Mhm.
Like if the outcome that you're pursuing includes you having $1 million home and a balanced schedule and a systematic situation, but you also like certain things, whether it's in this creative realm or wherever, follow that. Do the thing that's going to balance you. But if you want this life to mean something, the only way it is going to mean something is if you invest yourself in it in a way that is like crazy. Like you.
Well, also I would say the only way that you're gonna find meaning is if you put meaning into it. You know, because life intrinsically does not have any meaning. You know, like you could debate me on this, anyone, but I believe that life itself has no meaning at all. The galaxy, the universe is completely impartial. It does not have thoughts or feelings. It does not care about if you die or live. Honestly, the universe does not care about any of that. The Holocaust, anything. The stuff you'd be like, yeah, but that's so bad. No, there's no good or bad in the universe. Everything just is. Everything just is, and everything is in harmony, even when it feels like it's not. Because bad will happen in the world, and that's part of the harmony.
Well, but bad's a perspective.
Yeah, and it helps you to, you know, you learn about something by comparing it and contrasting it to something else.
I don't even mean a perspective like I mean bad as a perspective of where you're standing.
Yeah.
Like it's only bad because of where you're standing. That thing that you could view as bad from another vantage point, that might be the only option, and then it's good. And so,
or at another point in time. So time changes things. Your own spatial situation changes things. Everything. So, but I'm just saying that the reason I went on that tangent is because I believe there is no meaning in anything, but there can be. You created. Yeah. So if you want to give something meaning, you gotta really get into it. You know, not just do the job or do the craft or whatever, but put your whole essence into it, and then you'll be giving it meaning, and then you'll see the meaning that comes out of it. You'll be living that meaning. You'll be living your purpose. Yep. You'll be an inspiration to others that want to follow their purpose. And so that, I just think that's kind of ground zero. Is like, you got to just very objectively realize there is no meaning in life. There is no point to life. There really isn't, intrinsically. But if you want there to be, then go ahead and insert your thing. You know, if you say, yo, life is all about this, then boom, it's all about this.
There it is. And then as time goes on and you start to realize that maybe the luster is gone from a situation, you've turned that rock over, then it's time to look for a new rock.
Another thing, And you can have 4, 5, 6 different things in your life. Yeah, you know,
can
so
live it to the max, as they say.
Yeah, leave no stone unturned and just go all out on whatever it is you're curious about. Like, indulge your curiosities, go deep, you know?
Yeah.
And it might sound easier said than done, but like, it's kind of not, you know?
Like, you gotta devote your life to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Devote your whole life, you know?
What's next? What's next for you? I know we just had that little break moment.
Well, what's next? I mean, specifically
this week, this month, this year, like, what are you looking towards?
Well, next weekend, 1 week from today, is Art Walk here in the Wynwood Art District. So I might just go set up on the street, set up some art on like a table on the street 1 week from today. Then at the end of April, I'm going to Memphis to do live art at a yearly nonprofit gala function that I do once a year, and I have for the last 3 or 4 years. So I'll be doing live art at this fancy gala event in Memphis. Then I'm going to do like 1 or 2 murals in Memphis and some other things. I have a pop-up show in West Memphis, which is in Arkansas. And then I'm also going to South Carolina to do a mural at an office. And then I'll be back in Florida for a bit. And I'm also putting together another trip to New York pretty soon. I was just texting this guy about a mural possibility up there. So yeah, specifically, I got a few murals and travels coming up. More generally speaking, I want to meet more rappers to give them my art. You know, I was showing you this off camera, but just to show it to the camera, this is a book. These are all rappers that I have given my art to.
Raekwon, Ghostface.
So,
KRS.
This art is just a collection of names.
That's the homie.
Yep. These are all just names of rappers, and so I give them to the rappers. You know, if their name is in it, I give it to them for free. So this next few months, in the next year, I plan on just meeting a lot more rappers and giving them the art. You know, anyone that's on here that I haven't met yet, but I've met about 230 rappers so far. There's kind of not many left. But one dude I got my eyes set on is Eminem. I'm really trying to get to Eminem sometime in the next year and a half. I really want to get to him and give him the art.
Red Alert.
Even if I don't meet him, that's cool. If I just get the art to him somehow, like via the mail, if I can just get a picture of him holding it,
Irish Science.
That's cool. Yep. But yeah, so I mean, I got everyone. I feel like I should have Eminem and others. I haven't gotten Jay-Z yet or Nas and there's a lot of big people, but there's the people I have got too, and
a lot of these guys are some of my favorites.
Yeah. So definitely more of this in the future, that's part of the plan. But I don't know. Today's kind of an off day, like I'm in a good mood. I'm still an artist. I'm still doing my thing. But I think I hinted at, there is something a little off. I don't know. I'm just like maybe in some kind of a in-between state or something. I don't know. Like it's not a big deal. It's not a cause for concern, but it's just something's about to happen, I think. Something a little bigger, a little different. What it is yet, I don't really know. So it's going to be a collaboration between me and the universe. Once I
figure that out.
Yeah, once I figure out some things and the universe whispers a few more secrets in my ear, I'll figure out what is next. But like I said, I'm going to always do art. I'm not going to ever pivot out of art. But, there are some new things I need to do with it. I can only write your comfort zone will kill you so many times or love so many times. And I'm also kind of aware too, like how the public looks at it. I don't really like when people go like, oh, you're the guy that writes love. Or they're like, you're the guy that writes your comfort zone will kill you. Or they go, you're the guy that writes my comfort zone is killing me. So it's all stuff, they just think that I'm one particular thing, or they think I'm one particular thing and they get it wrong, whatever. But the truth is I'm the guy that writes words. I am the handwritten artist. I am the poet that became the visual artist, and I write words. Yeah. So you might find me writing love. You might find me writing your comfort zone will kill you. Or you might find me writing 5,000 words of stream of consciousness thought, Can
I tell you about the longest book I've ever received?
Yeah.
So I found myself, I revisited this one book many times, like probably 20 times, 30 times. And I realized that, and I was like, yo, I got to get to the essence of this book. And that book was the Bhagavad Gita, right? And it's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, you should. It's one of the most important books ever written, right? But it's only like a chapter in a bigger book. And the bigger book is the Mahabharata, which is like essentially, and I'm going to dumb this down so people don't get mad, but it's like a lot of what the Hindu religion is based on, right? A lot of it came from the Mahabharata, right? And it's the longest spiritual book ever written in the history of humanity. Like it's like I think it was 1.3 million words.
Wow.
One book, right?
Yeah.
And it was dope, man. It's definitely, as someone who is a fan of words and in that process, like it's worth checking out. It kind of like I was a little intimidated because certain books, I'm not going to say the books, but certain books aren't as interesting to me because of just the way they're written and how they feel dry in that realm, right? Yeah. This particular book, like it wasn't that. Like it read like a Harry Potter book.
That's cool.
It was like wizards and sorcerers, and it was really dope. Like anybody that is looking to go a little further, I would argue the Bhagavad Gita specifically, and that's like a chapter or a section of the Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita is incredibly useful for that moment, and then the larger Mahabharata is crazy.
I never heard of the bigger book, the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I've heard of that, and I heard about that from KRS-One. He has a lyric where he mentions that, and it was like really hard to decipher the lyric because you know if you've never heard that word, you're like, what is he even saying? Is that a word? But then after time, I'm like, okay, that's the holy book. Yeah, okay, I got you.
And it's really just a section. It's not even the book. It's just like it's the hits. Like it's the popular chapter.
Yeah.
It's the chapter where the most shit happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's this whole story that led up to that story or that piece of the story.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm always looking for new stuff to read and stuff. I was reading, I have over there, Breakfast of Champions. You ever heard of that book by William S. Burroughs?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
That's like Beat Generation type stuff. Yeah.
There was while we're on books, there's a comedian, and I can't remember his name, but he was just talking. This comedian kind of tinges on some like religion, spiritual stuff, whatever, but he had this like really interesting way of describing what he was trying to get across, which was like he was talking about the human perspective of religion, spirituality, whatever, and he was like, the characters in the Harry Potter book, they don't know who created them, right? They have no clue that they were created, yet J.K. Rowling lives inside of Harry Potter. The essence of Harry Potter is J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
And then he used that to tie back around to like what humanity is and the human experience and blah blah blah. But
yeah, it makes sense.
It was it was actually like it's something new that
it makes sense. It's kind of like the essence of God is within all of us, even though we don't really understand God.
And that's what he was getting at. That's what he was getting at. It was like,
I like that.
It was like a new. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the video. But it was like a new, like a fresh take on something that I hadn't heard, and I was like, oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that kind of jives with my like spiritual belief. I mean, I really believe that we are all gods. You know, I don't know if I really believe that there is like some essence, some entity or man or whatever that is God, that is like, you know, the creator of everything. I don't know where all this actually came from, but I just do know that wherever it came from some source. And I think source is a bit of a better word, but it all came from source, and the source is also within us, and we are all creators. And so I just feel like whatever we are looking to understand is what we are. So if we want to better understand this thing that created us, then we should just better understand ourselves, because we are also creators.
And so that to do that, there's only one way from where I'm standing, and that's to look inside.
Yeah.
The only way to get a clearer understanding of the bigger picture or the overall experience is by looking within.
Yeah, it's like microcosm, macrocosm type stuff, and as above, so below type stuff. Like everything is a reflection of something larger. So that's kind of what I'm saying, is we are a reflection of God. We all have our higher self and our lower self and everything in between. But my higher self is my God. It's like the part of God that's in me.
Yeah.
And you know, when you talk about God and the different names and stuff that we call him or her or whatever, one of them is the creator. But it's like, okay, if I make an omelet, I'm a creator. I just made an omelet. If I make a piece of art, I'm a creator. I just made a piece of art. If I write a song, I'm a creator. Now let's take it further. If I have sex with a woman and she gets pregnant and we have a child, we both co-created an actual human being. You know what I mean? So, and that's what God does, right? That's his whole rep, that he created humans. Well, I could create a human too.
I can do that too.
You know what I mean? So,
and that's what makes that little snippet that I was telling you about so eloquent is, you know, Harry Potter can't see J.K. Rowling, right?
Right.
Harry Potter can look for the essence in the movie. He kind of does look for the essence of himself, right? But the essence, J.K. Rowling, is him inside of that piece of art.
Yeah, I think that understanding lots of concepts in life really just come down to like using the proper analogy or metaphor to help you understand it, you know, because everything
the metaphor can only point to it.
Yeah.
You got to find it because it's in here.
Right. But yeah, that's, you know, that's the kind of stuff I like to think about and talk about, you know, like I've had this discussion many times, but just the idea that we are creators, we are gods, you know, like your fate is in your hands, you know, it doesn't have to be like a thing like you're praying to God for help, you know, or asking him to get you out of a situation, you know, like, and not to knock anyone that does pray in that fashion, but I just think that if you understand your power, you don't really have to like ask for anything. You just have to manifest it. You just have to work on it. You have to match the vibration of that thing you want or that scenario that you want or whatever. You have to just tap into the God within you. Like just like, you know, if you find yourself asking some separate God for help, just try and turn that advice around and like ask yourself for help, you know, like just realize
where the answer lives.
The answer is right inside of you. So you got to like just quiet down and hear it, you know, and that's where meditation comes in. But even if you're not a meditator type, I think
one thing that I've done throughout my life and the people that have inspired me or I've seen get it right in the moments of my life when I've gotten it right is when you acknowledge that something is no longer serving you, then that's the time to find the next thing that's going to serve the intention that you are seeking. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, you know, this person might be in this job because the job has now created a stable and comfortable life for them. And if it's serving themselves and they're happy, great, right? But if you start asking these existential questions, then it's time to look for rocks to turn over and spice up the journey. And who knows where that leads you? It might just lead you to opening a coffee shop, or you could, you might end up in South America on some wild adventure.
And that could be fun. That's where the fun kicks in. When you're maybe a little confused, you're looking for the next path, you're seeking some guidance, you become a blank slate, and you you open yourself up to new things. So yeah, sometimes when I reflect back on that time in my life, like when I first started getting into art, when I was living in my car and stuff, I'm like, man, in a way those were like hard times, but I'm like, nah, they were also just amazing times, you know? I mean, the truth is I don't look at really any part of my life as hard. I guess I've had it fairly well, even when I had like the appearance of some sort of a struggle. I guess I just always had the fortitude and the knowledge to know that everything is temporary. Yeah, and everything can get better and stuff. And yeah, the concept of good and bad are so relative and they can change, There's like this parable where someone like, I'm not going to really tell it right. I'll probably butcher it. But just to give you like the summary of it, there's like this parable of like some dude, like his son gets like thrown off a horse and breaks his leg. Yeah. And then someone says like, oh man, that's bad that your son broke his leg. And then he goes, oh, we'll see. And the guy was like, what do you mean we'll see? I just said it's bad. Don't you agree that's bad? And he's like, no, we'll see. But then fast forward, then like something happened, like because his leg was broken, he got into this. And so now you see him as bad, So the parable, when properly conveyed, shows you that there's like a few situations that happened to this guy, like something that was good, but it turned out to be bad. There was something that was bad, but it turned out to be good. So he just kept saying, we'll see. And so that's, that's a good insight on life. Like it's important to not really judge anything and just like let it all pass through you and over you and learn from it and just try and reserve the whole urge to like label stuff.
Yeah.
Us humans are very quick to do that. We love to say this is good or this is bad, or that person. But really just if you could like escape that whole paradigm and just be like, everything is, then like life gets easier and you get better at it. Yeah. Because if you're not so busy labeling things good or bad, then you're not channeling your energy into these good and bad lanes. Yeah. And if you do focus a little bit on the bad, you're gonna attract more bad.
Yeah.
And yes, focusing on good can attract more good, but it's better to just focus on the fact that everything is, and then you'll attract what's needed.
Just live with intention.
Yeah, just have your intention be to learn and grow and like be conscientious of this life you're living.
Yeah.
And so if you do that, you should be good, So like, that's kind of my advice to anyone. But I realize, that kind of stuff doesn't just instantly click with everyone. Sometimes you got to live 30, 40, 50 years to come to that understanding. But maybe not. Maybe you've only been here 15 years, but you hear someone say stuff like this in an interview and it clicks, So now you're a little ahead. You got some knowledge ahead of your time, And that's what's beautiful about the era we're in with the internet and stuff. Most of my youth and my growing up and my knowledge seeking was in the pre-internet era. But that's why I got most of my knowledge from hip hop. So that's why hip hop is so ingrained in me. And even though I'm 47 now and I barely listen to music, there's just something in the back of my head or in the back of my soul that like still comes from like Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions.
You just move a certain way. It just is what it is.
It's ingrained. It's my culture, And hip hop is a culture. It's like a race, It's kind of like, what's your culture? What's your race? What are you?
People that come from
hip hop.
People that have hip hop as their essence, like you could see them, how they move.
Yeah.
The way they interact with the world, and you can understand it. And that goes for all of it, right? Like Jewish people or people from, vast cultures all over. Like it's a culture. It's a culture into itself.
Yeah. So I'm kind of happy that I was raised that way, I mean, I don't know any other way it could have been, but my background is cool, It got me here to where I'm at, and as far as the future, we'll see. I mean, I guess one thing I should mention right here because it's appropriate and it fits with the path we're on, but I do murals that say world peace, and so I'll take an entire wall or an entire building and I'll write world peace over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Just very methodically, straight lines, world peace over and over, nothing else to it. I'll alternate the colors, usually 2 or 3 or 4 colors.
Mm-hmm.
But so all these world peace murals that I do are part of what I call the World Peace Mural Tour. So it's an endless tour. It's not like a music tour. It starts and finishes. This tour is just the rest of my life. The World Peace Mural Tour is the name I've given to all the World Peace murals that I do.
Yeah.
So I keep track of them, and I've done 95 of them. I've done 95 World Peace murals in the last 10 years. I started this in 2016, and I've done 9 countries. But I'm mentioning all this to say that 10 years ago, when I first started the World Peace Mural Tour project, it came to me because of KRS-One, because he had a song called World Peace.
Yeah.
And one morning I just woke up and that song was in my head and I was just kind of singing it, and then it just clicked and I was like, that's it. That's the message. That's the message that I could write, that no one will disagree with, that won't cause any hate, that will be widely acceptable, that's necessary, that's needed for our world, that is relatable, and that I could take all over the world. You know, it's world peace. So because I had this aspiration to travel more with my art, and this is 2016, so I had been doing murals for like 2 years, but I had done most of those 2 years of murals in Florida, you know, and so I really wanted to travel more, and then I got the van and stuff, and so then when I cooked up this world peace project with KRS-One's help, it really clicked. And so now I've done Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Haiti, England, Spain, France, I don't know, 9 countries altogether. The United States, Mexico.
Do you have any that you got your eyes on and that you're working on?
Yeah, all of them. You know, like I really want to go to Israel and Iran, to be honest. You know, I mean, obviously they need that message pretty bad.
Or DC.
Yeah,
or,
DC.
Or where's dude's his little compound?
Mar-a-Lago?
Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Like, hey, find a coffee shop across the street from Mar-a-Lago. They need that.
Yeah. Well, that's in like West Palm Beach. I've actually done some murals in West Palm. I did a World Peace mural in West Palm, but that was years ago, like 2017 or something. But that was when Trump was president the first time. But but anyways, I, especially with the world peace thing, I try to not get too bogged down on like particulars or people like Trump or actual conflicts, because I just don't want to go that route. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump. To be honest, I'm not a registered voter. I've never voted in my life. I could give 2 shits about politics. I honestly have a very like anarchy type of view on all that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm very honest too. Like I just know that I'm not informed. So I'm not going to put together a bunch of opinions to have a conversation about something that I really know nothing about, you know? And a lot of times people will say something about,
we good? Yeah, we're good.
A lot of times people will say something about politics, or they'll be like, oh, I don't want to talk politics, or let's talk politics, or something like that. And then when you realize what they're talking about, it's like, you're not even talking about politics, actual politics. If you just say something like you hate Trump or something like that, you're just saying that you hate a politician. You know, like talking about politics means you're talking about the policies within. It means you understand the government, the way it works. It means you're paying attention. You know, you watch this hearing or this vote, or you're following this bill. You know what I mean? That's politics. Policies, the politics involved in our government. But most people don't really even get into the politics. What they're doing is they're just like following the news, and they're focused on the names, and then like I like him or I don't like him.
They're good or bad.
Yeah, and good or bad.
Team, they're
exactly. It's just like sports, and so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not into sports.
The gamification of it is what's made it where we are right now.
Yeah. So that's why I bring all that up to say, like with the World Peace Mural Tour, I'm just writing world peace. That's all I'm doing. Yeah. I'm not making any kind of a statement in any particular way at all. I'm not really following the current conflict. I know a little bit about it and stuff. And like I said, I do want to go to Israel, so I got to pay attention to what's going on out there. I'm not going to book a flight, you know, if the airport is being bombed. So I'm getting a little more informed and a little more curious about what's actually happening in the world, the politics, the politicians, the news coverage of it. But I also really like to just sit back and be like, yo, I write world peace. That's what I write. You can respond to it however you want.
Whatever it means to you.
Yeah, whatever it means to you. Because it does mean something different to all kinds of people. I mean, I like to just watch how people react to stuff and just observe. You know, like, I have definitely seen people, like, look at my mural and, like, literally get mad and be like, world peace. Man, that's fucked up. We ain't never gonna have world peace, blah, blah. And then they'll just go off on, like, a whole thing. And I'm like, look at you. Look at how, like, mad and aggravated you're getting.
How that got you.
Yeah. But that's okay. I realize some percentage of people are like that. You know, again, I'm just like doing my field work. I'm just doing experiments out here. And then there are other people that'll just be like, oh, you wrote that? That's so beautiful. You know, so everyone has their own thing. I remember I was doing live art at a bar in Miami Beach a while ago, and I wasn't writing world peace, I was writing love. And I had this canvas and I was just writing love over and over. I'm in my zone, I'm writing love. Most people, the patrons of the bar, are either ignoring me or they're coming up and saying, oh, that's beautiful, I like it, or whatever. Then this one guy goes, man, you must have had your heart broken, huh? And I was like, huh? He's like, someone someone broke your heart, and he just goes on this whole negative thing, and I'm like, no, dude. And he's like, then why are you writing love? And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like his perspective on life is like, if you're writing love, that must mean you're bitter about love, you know? Like I got his point of view, but that wasn't my point of view at all. I'm writing love because I love love and because it's an easy word to write, and I am focused on more of the things, but I just watched as this guy like went mad crazy to the point where the bartender told him like, yo, leave him alone. He had to tell him to like get off my back. So he got all irate by just watching a guy write love.
You know what I mean? I think there's like a deeper thing that happens with words. For sure, because we use them to communicate.
Totally.
They can mean such a wide variety of things to people, and it triggers.
Oh,
and
yeah. So probably he had his heart broken, and what he's doing is called projecting, you know? Now that a lot of these like therapy phrases are so mainstream and we see how it applies, that's what's known in the world of therapy as projection.
Yeah.
You're taking your own view on something and you're putting it on someone else. You're watching them do something, and you're like, well, when I do that thing that he's doing, I feel this way, so that's probably how he feels. But the truth is, you got no grounds for that. This is a stranger. You don't know how they roll.
There's this movie, I can't remember the name of it, and it's not even really about words, but what you're talking about, it expresses it very well visually. It was a Denzel Washington movie, and it was like, he would touch him.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That would transfer this demon from place to place to place to place. And that's what is, like, that's what that is, in my opinion. Like, that's a great visual representation of what happens when we allow ourselves to be drugged down this good or bad, right or wrong thing that happens in our society or culture.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if you want to be impervious to that, you want to be not touched by any of that judgment, that binary way of looking at things, you got to sort of put up your shield and be like Johnny Easygoing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I meet and I witness these energies that are polarizing and binary and good and bad, I like to just kind of be like, I like go further into my like laid backness. I almost play it up. I'm almost like faking it a tiny. Like, yes, I am laid back. I am very not opinionated. But when I see someone is getting too strongly opinionated and too like, then I'd be like, hey, you know, man, I'm just writing love, man. You know, or I'd be like, I just write world peace, you know, and I get more like relaxed. Like, you see how chill I am? You should probably chill, because all I'm doing is writing these words, and that's why I'm writing them, because words carry energy. So I'm putting my own loving energy into this, but I want to see how the words resonate with you, what kind of energy you have, you know, and so it's a fun experiment.
And one could hope that, and we'll have to go into their cameras are going crazy, but there's still one slide. One could hope that the guy that read the love and was offended, or the person that becomes overly giddy about the love, this process of putting the words on canvas and people seeing them, it takes that human to a deeper place, and they start to understand their relationship with words so that they can balance themselves from it.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I do that a lot. As far as the people that just observe what I'm doing and maybe throw in a comment, I don't really know where they go from there. But yes, me, I'm on that journey that you're talking about. I'm trying to learn, you know.
And one would hope, you know, the intention behind it would be that people see, like, that's the point of art, right? Like, you see it, and art takes you somewhere and you respond from it. Often people do these massive murals, or they go and do, you know, let's say Picasso, a painting, and people respond to that, right? Well, words are just as important in putting those words down and having people go deeper, get angry. Like, why did I get so mad at that artist for writing love, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that's gonna happen. I mean, whether or not you understand the outcomes is not your business, right? Because you're just Johnny Easygoing, like you said.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're getting a response means you're doing something necessary.
Yeah.
Because the world's responding for whatever the reason is.
Yeah, any response is a response from anyone, any type of response. So it's cool, you know, it's just cool to get a pulse, you know? Like, I obviously remember that story. It resonated. I'm not like mad, like, oh my God, let me tell you this fucked up thing that happened. It's more like, let me tell you something interesting that happened, you know? Like, interestingly enough, I wrote love and this guy got mad, because that was like the only time it happened. But, you know, everything is percentages, so there's always going to be an outlier.
Well,
you know?
and that outlier, there might have been a click in that person that
that's what I'm saying.
allowed them to address it.
Oh yeah, he probably just got divorced or something. Who knows? But I don't know. This is kind of why I like being an artist, you know? I mean, yeah, there's a downside. Like I said, sometimes I'm like, it's sad, and I'm like,
what am I doing?
And shit, yeah, I'm lonely and blah, blah. But overall, I guess I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I pay my bills. I'm fairly healthy. I'm very grateful. I'm very rooted in gratitude. I wake up in a gratitude prayer every morning, and I just, you know, write and make money off of it. So it's pretty cool, and I'm really just making my younger self happy because, you know, to sort of bring a full circle, like, you know, I was saying it was hip hop that got me into everything, basically. Hip hop got me into one thing and then the next and the next and the next, you know? But really, when I look back to what my life was like at age 14, let's just say, or 13, my life was go to school and like work really hard at school, be very conscientious, your homework, get the highest grades, blah, blah, study, right? So the daytime school, I was very studious. I was a nerd, I was very into my classes, I was punctual, I was all that. And then after that would be track or cross country practice. So that's physical, I'm like sweating, I'm you know, developing my body just like my mind. Then I go home and I just do homework and I write really, 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 really small, answering all these like questions in my homework packets while listening to hip hop. So now fast forward, that's kind of what I do now. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing. So I write a lot, I write really small, I listen to hip hop, I incorporate hip hop into what I'm writing. I try and pay attention to my physical fitness too, you know, so it's just kind of like I'm a grown up version of the kid.
Young you would be inspired by all.
Very proud of me, yeah.
Huh?
We're wrapping it up right now. People that don't know, my daughter's right there. Anyhow, well, I appreciate you having us here.
Heck yeah, man.
And I look forward to building with you overall. Like, yeah. I think that you're a kindred spirit in some of the journey that I'm on and how I'm moving. And I look forward to watching you answer these existential questions, you know, and you know, just moving. So, thanks for inviting us into your home. This is dope.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I love having people at my studio. I mean, if you're watching this, like, I'm an open book. I mean, you can't just show up, but you can hit me up and come see my studio. This is my live workspace. This is a studio. It's a gallery. And it's like the first time in my life that I had my own place. Like I said, I lived in a car. I lived in a van. I've lived in the beach and recording studios and stuff. So I have my own spot. You know, I really like sharing it with people and just saying, like, this is where I live. I get kind of giddy, you know. Like, I don't even think people know, like, why is he so excited? I'm like, cause I got a place, man, you know. But yeah, so this is my place, and I just fill it with art, and you know, Wynwood Art District. I still love Wynwood.
Oh yeah.